I do see a lot of people going, we've learned our lesson from Solskjær, therefore Carrick can't get the job. Do you think there is almost an element of you have to be better than anyone we've ever had in order to put yourself even in the ring for the job, when realistically he's still got the best record of any United manager ever, and some people are saying, no, that's it now. Yeah,
probably, and unfortunately that narrative will carry that you can't appoint another interim after one interim has actually factually been our best 2 league finishes post Sir Alex, second and third.
Yeah.
Like, where did it go wrong for Ollie?
Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is Off the Bar. My name is Joe. That is Jay. That is Steve. And there's a lot to talk about, as always. Manchester United losing their first game under Michael Carrick. I want to talk a bit about, I don't want to say it's been a full meltdown, but the amount of people that seem to almost be rejoicing, pointing the I told you so finger.
Really?
Have you not seen that?
No.
There's been tons of that on social media, in our comments at least. A lot of people saying, finally Carrick's proved that he's not the guy. There seems to be a lot of people that have been sort of waiting almost for this moment that kind of proves that he's not going to be the person for Man United. And, one loss in, 11 or 10 games in his whole career at United is enough to prove that. I want to have a little look at that, the expectations around it, Manchester United in general this season, what we should expect from Michael Carrick, what has gone wrong, what has gone right. A little bit as well on some transfers, because as we know, and maybe proven more so than ever with that game against Newcastle, what's coming off the bench is not really good enough to sustain United across hopefully 4 fronts next season.
No. Well, that was a major issue, to be honest.
It is a huge issue indeed. Yeah. But first of all, how are we? How are you, Jay?
I'm alright, man. Relatively philosophical about it all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think even though I said, in the preview, I think we'll win, I did say that was the game I was worried about for the last few weeks, because so soon after the Palace game, and we're not used to it. And St James is a difficult ground for us. I think that's now our 4th defeat on the spin there. So I thought it might be one of those games. The annoying thing for me is the fact we lost to 10 men. Like, losing at St James is always, it's never great. But losing to 10 men there just feels like it's rubbing salt in the wound. That's the issue. But I feel confident we'll bounce back against Villa. I feel we will. I think we've got it, but I think we will.
You all right, Steve?
No, not really.
Why?
I feel like I'm spiralling on a mental decay of just watching the world completely fall apart at the seams, watching all these wars kick off, and I'm not involved.
So in terms of Carrick, so you want to be involved?
Have you met him?
Yeah,
have you actually met Stephen Howson? Have you ever spoken to him? Yeah.
Yes and no.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yes and no. It's more of a case that I'm watching people say something that's clearly incorrect or just blatant lies, and just watching the entire world fall for it.
Do you think that, obviously this is nothing to do with football, but we will get to football. Do you think we've got more savvy to that over the years? Because that's been a thing forever, hasn't it? Just propaganda.
I think we probably have got a little bit more savvy to it. Although, the people who was calling out 9/11 the same day, I think.
Yeah.
And the problem is misinformation gets flung in with the conspiracies that are actually correct.
Yeah.
And people are like, they were remote control, not sure they were. Or it's holograms, not sure they were. But then you've got planes that disintegrated buildings and just everything turns to dust, but we found a passport here. Yeah, just wipe that off. Found a passport. From the guy in the front. Yeah, of course.
Interesting, isn't it? I mean, speaking of holograms, some United's defending yesterday. You
nice,
walk right through.
Nicely done.
Let's start with this Paul Scholes thing, because I think we've sort of mentioned it, but I want your thoughts on this. So, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I'm sure they have.
Apparently Wayne Rooney's responded to this.
No, it's false.
Oh, bastard.
It's a false flag attack.
Some accusations will be false.
So, Paul Scholes after the game last night, and he did post this because you double-checked
false flag, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah,
he did post this.
on Instagram, because it was doing the rounds on Twitter, and I thought, is this someone who's, created something?
He does have a pod now, doesn't he? On the
but I went on his Instagram and it was on there last night. It's gone now.
So for those who didn't see
which bit's false? I'm sure what Paul Scholes said, or what Wayne Rooney said in response?
What Wayne Rooney said in response. That was doing rounds this morning, and then people were saying no, that or Grok or whoever you want to use as your sort of go-to AI was saying no, this is photoshopped. The actual Paul Scholes thing is real. The Wayne Rooney response isn't.
Yeah. So Paul Scholes on his Insta story after the game, it was just a sort of black background, no image,
Loves
no
that
picture.
one, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
That's his almost go-to screenshot.
Yeah.
Jobby.
And he said, Michael has definitely got something special about him, ... because United have been crap the last 4 games, ... Knight with this sort of kissing love heart, winking emoji, and then Tonali with a love heart underneath that. So obviously the Tonali thing, whatever, he likes a Newcastle player, that's one thing. The way that was phrased, the fact that he comes out straight after the game and seems to be almost revelling in the fact that United have lost a game, or certainly, piling the pressure on a bit, calling him Michael, not, in that sort of, we're mates, but I'm also going to dig out my mate. This sort of is definitely something special about him. We've been shit. The thing is, the content of what he said, for a lot of people, is somewhat true. We haven't been great for the last 4 games.
I said as much last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there are many ways to say that. I think what has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I want your thoughts on it, Steve, is the fact that they're former teammates. You're saying it in a way that is pretty dismissive. It's got a sort of playground kind of
there's
jilted.
Clearly something special about him is a dig.
Yeah, it's sarcastic, it's piss-takey, and these are people that have been colleagues, been successful colleagues for, 6-7 years? They were 6 years?
Yeah, I think
2006, 2013,
like so, yeah.
on and off. They've worked together for a long time. What do you make of that? What do you make of the style of post, the fact that it's straight after the game? Do you think it's just unnecessary, or do you think...
Yeah, I think it is, and I did watch... I didn't watch the full thing, but I did see a clip from Butt and Scholes' podcast where Nicky Butt was showing his arms to sort of dispel that City tattoo myth, which was doing the rounds, because he was going on about how much he hates City, which felt real, the way he was talking about that. But the way they were talking about him, that clip was seeming like they was quite positive in terms of like how good he is with the lads and how much of a good man manager he is. So very contradictory to the tone of the podcast that came out, I think yesterday, with that. But yeah, he's mad grumpy, and he's called it when it comes to United.
It's weird though. I think that it feels like
the 3 biggest United names out there. 4 with Rio, but the 3 biggest United names that are out there in terms of Gary Neville, Paul Scholes and Roy Keane fucking hate us.
Yeah.
It feels.
And it feels though, I think they talk about Carrick, and certainly Keane, but even Neville to a degree about... They talk about him in a way that they don't seem to talk about the rest of the lads from that time. They don't seem to disrespect each other, and obviously they don't disrespect Keane because they're all scared of him, and obviously what a great player and captain he was. But when they're talking about Ole, for instance, in his time at United, and they don't seem to use any kind of piss-takey language. There's things there you can have a go at if you want to, but for instance, Solskjær crying when he left, which I think for every United fan we got it, we understand it. But it's something if you wanted to have a little dig at, point a finger and poke a finger, you could do. But they don't seem to do that, and for some reason, Keane's quite happy to slag off Carrick's wife as soon as he gets the job, which felt a bit bizarre. Neville said a similar thing about he shouldn't get the job, or it should be remarkable circumstances for him to get the job. Scholes again, poking fun there, just weirdly kind of out of nowhere really, and you think the start he's had has been amazing. Obviously not all the results and not all the performances have been amazing, but to then immediately come out after the first loss and say, yeah, he's got something special about him, we're crap. That's just like bizarre. What do you make of it, Jay?
Yeah, I think bizarre is the right word to describe it. And it's sad as well because, look, there's no denying Paul Scholes is one of United's greatest ever players. He really is. He's not like some ex-players who you think barely played for us or sort of made a name by just being trolls.
Yeah.
You can ignore them or just dismiss it or whatever. But with Scholes, his words do carry a lot of weight because of who he was. And it does seem a bit odd because they played together, him and Carrick. Keane, I kind of get it to a certain degree because they didn't play together. Yeah. There was obviously a bit of needle between them in terms of what Carrick's wife said, and Keane's not one for ignoring a grudge or forgetting about a grudge, is he? We all know that. So I understand it even if I don't agree with it. The Scholes one does seem strange, and it's also, I don't think you can call Scholes naive. He knows that's going to get a reaction. He knows that people are going to be sort of fuming after a loss, and it feels like he's just sort of sticking the knife in a little bit when he doesn't need it, does he? He doesn't need. I don't think Scholes needs any of this. This is the sort of the odd thing about it. Like, yeah, sort of do the podcast and share your opinions and everything, but he doesn't need to be on Instagram posting stuff like that.
The way he spoke after the Martinez thing a few weeks ago was almost as though he kind of, oh shit, I didn't realise it would be this big. I didn't, maybe I need to have a little think about how we talk. Yes, it's banter and we're messing about, but I kind of get it now. Because I think it was on the overlap with McCullough where he kind of said, I didn't think it would go like that. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd explode. So he's only, fresh off the back of another, I don't want to say controversy because really who cares, but another thing where you think maybe now I know how to speak in these moments and all that. Like you said, it's the former colleagues, and we were saying before, like if you got another job, Jay,
Yeah.
and after you'd done an amazing job, and after a few weeks you had a bit of a stinker, and I'm straight on social media going, there's one thing special about Jay, he's shit. Like that would be mad, wouldn't it? Like they know each other really well, and again, you can almost be, if he was fuming and it was like, for fuck's sake, this has been coming, we need to see a bit more from Carrick, the stuff that everyone has said, you would almost get it. But it's the fact that it's like the love heart winking emoji, calling him Michael. Yeah, there's certainly one thing special about him. It's like, it is like sarcastic and piss takey rather than a pissed off fan watching something he doesn't like.
And it's not like they're that close where you go, oh, it's just two mates having a laugh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Text him.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
It's
inside jokes work inside.
Yeah.
Like they're better inside.
Yeah.
Putting an inside joke out totally erases any sort of context or back and forward or anything. And it comes across really weird.
It's a shame because you mentioned all those ex-players there, Steve.
Dig the fucking players out.
Yeah, Rio's like been pretty objective and pretty fair towards Michael Carrick, and he usually tends to be towards the players as well. Wayne Rooney's one I quite like. I don't think Wayne Rooney's ever comes out with anything. If Wayne Rooney says anything that causes controversy, it's usually because he's slanging off Virgil van Dijk. And he's usually accurate, by the way, as well. So I think he's been proven right on that front.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen much from Rooney that I've ever...
I know with him and Carrick and Pally.
He's a really good pundit, Rooney.
Yeah, Rooney's sort
actually
of like...
really good.
And Rooney's the one where you could go, actually, he's an Evertonian.
Yeah.
He got a lot of stick off United fans when he was, despite being our greatest ever goal scorer, there was a time when United fans were booing him because of the contract situation. So he might have a reason. He left under a bit of a cloud with Fergie, like... Not left, sorry, under the cloud, but Fergie didn't treat him as well as he could have done. There's every right where Wayne Rooney could have a bit of a chip on his shoulder when it comes towards United, despite the fact he's a club legend or whatever. Yeah. But he hasn't. He still obviously cares about United. He's pretty objective, and he's quite sort of, aware of his status within the United fan base. Where these lot sometimes act like they're just amazed that people would sort of react in a way to anything they've got to say, which is I don't know, it's beyond naive to be honest.
Paul Scholes understands he's Paul Scholes?
I don't know, this is kind of what Michael was saying.
Him that exact question. Do you know what you're saying?
Paul Scholes, you're not just anyone, you're like a club legend.
Because I know he did say one of the defences in the Martinez thing was it was just like two mates sitting in a pub.
Which I kind of get, but then the nature of that conversation was a bit nasty, or a bit... I think Mackie used the word emasculating when he was on also, asking him about it.
Mackie doesn't know what that means.
Neither did Scholes.
Also, you're not in a pub. You aren't in a pub. And you aren't just two mates.
They film it in a pub, I think.
But you know what I mean, though? You're not just... You're filming it. You're recording it. This is a podcast. You're putting this out knowing that it isn't you and Nicky but having an inside joke and a chat. So you obviously are speaking differently. You act accordingly.
But also, like, I don't think he understands how big a fucking footballer he is. Like, because he's never really courted... Not even really. He's just never courted fame. Isn't one that does adverts. Isn't one... by the way, did you ever see the Ryan Giggs ones a couple of weeks ago? Ryan Giggs is doing like adverts on his Instagram. Go find them. They're fucking awful.
I haven't even heard of it.
Ryan Giggs reading auto cue has been a thing for 30 years.
Yeah.
He's not good at it.
No.
Stay in your lane. You're good at racking up numbers.
Yeah.
We know what we're talking about. And that's about it.
Yeah.
And maybe racking up numbers. But auto cue's not your lane. And he's really bad at doing adverts.
I need to see these now, actually.
Like more wooden than fucking Pinocchio.
More wooden than
I don't think Paul Scholes understands how big Paul Scholes is and how good he was.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a fucking clue. They was talking yesterday on the podcast about how I think Paddy McGuinness asked them about was there any players who didn't like football, and he was saying like Anderson and Nick Powell just didn't really watch football, and he was talking about that helped them in some games because they didn't realise how big a game it was or how good some of the opposition was. I think Paul Scholes is the same. I don't think he realises how famous he is, how much his word carries weight, how fucking good he was and how respected he is in the game. To like anything that he says is instant fucking headlines.
Yeah. Even without the audio, I can see this is terrible.
That's the right gigs thing.
Yeah. I love the fact that lights bite Adam McCullough.
Of course. Yeah, maybe there is an element of that. and maybe that he will sort of get there with it and he'll understand that. And maybe, who knows, he could have been sat at home. He could have had 6 cans of Carlsberg.
Can we play devil's advocate? Can we just say, are we getting a bit precious about this? Is there an element of that? Like, it's a 40-odd-year-old man, what is he, probably 50 now, at midnight, after we've lost, going on Instagram, putting some emojis and a bit of a dig.
I'm just,
I think
it feels personal because he does have a relationship with them. If he dug the players out where I think he doesn't have a relationship, if he'd have been like, fucking hell, like Malacia doesn't belong on a football pitch or something like that, I don't think anyone would have a drama with what he was saying. But when we know that you know Michael Carrick, when we know that you've got his phone number, when we know that you've shared a lot of trophies together, sometimes it shatters it. And look, we know there's relationships that have been successful that did not speak and will never speak, like Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham. But we never thought that was the case with Carrick and Scholes.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Jay. But I like you said, I do think.
I did the news this morning. I was criticising Scholes' comments. I don't agree with him. I just thought, is there an element of that? Does anyone think, actually, come on, lads, who cares? But
also,
certainly not the response I've seen on socials anyway. And everyone seems to be fully backing Carrick.
And with football,
and questioning Scholes'
we already are taking something that is on the surface completely unimportant and making it our lives. You know what I mean? Whether that ball goes in that net, in terms of real life, does not matter at all. So we're already in this world where something that is immaterial is actually hugely emotionally important to all of us.
We're starting the war channel.
We're not doing that. They don't have to be that important. But do you know what I mean? So you're already entering a world where it's kind of like this ball being in that place or over that place doesn't matter, but it matters so much to everyone. So when you're in that world, these things do matter more than they might do if it was, just your mate or someone else. Where like it does kind of matter.
Do what we do for WWE.
Yeah,
that's mad.
That is mad. That is crazy.
That's mad because you might as well do it for fucking Hollyoaks.
Yeah, I mean people do. Goggle box.
That's but that's not. People don't sit there arguing about the performances.
No, maybe not. Maybe they would have done it. If YouTube existed in the 80s, they would have done it with like Corrie and EastEnders and that, though, wouldn't they? Yeah, it was a big deal. Just on the wider sort of.
Can you imagine what would you call your Corrie fanzine?
Oh, that's good.
Let me know in the comments what you're calling your Corrie fanzine.
Coronation Speak.
Rovers Review.
Oh, Rovers Review is not bad, but it feels.
That's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of
backbeat, mate. Backbeat. Word on the street.
Hey. Go on.
Cobble talk.
Cobble talk from producer Harry there.
I don't mind that.
I saw a sign once at V-Fest that said Deirdre Rashid in a porno.
There we go. That's the name of the channel.
I never understood why.
Do you remember the free Deirdre thing? There was I remember an actual protest outside somewhere.
Free Deirdre. I think it was 1 million people in 2001. There was 1 million people. It was Free Deirdre.
There was like 13 people at this protest, but it was like a real protest on a real. It was in Salford somewhere.
That was the kind of thing, right, where I used to have to go along to those kind of things at Q103, where there'd be 13 people
and ask
there.
them, are you fucking on drugs?
Yeah, and I'd have to try and make out like this was a real protest. Like, crowds have gathered here for the Free Deirdre Rashid.
I mean, they all came in 2 cars, but
I mean, there's at least several people.
You used to be able to have that when there was a gap between programs. Now the whole series comes out at once. You find out if the character died, if the explosion and the rubble actually, all that stuff. You find it out the second the last.
You're
one
also
ended.
Googling the plot.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah.
What did that episode really mean?
Yeah. And then you watch a 40-minute breakdown on what that film actually was. Yeah. I always do that. And then I go, I actually like that film more now because someone smarter than me has told me what it actually meant. Fucking always do that. I did that with Apocalypse Now. I've seen more footage about the film than the film.
Have you seen House of Darkness?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah,
and the making of that film is actually more surreal than the actual film.
But it makes the film even more brilliant.
I saw some clips of Russell Crowe slagging off Gladiator 2 and it warmed the inners of my heart.
Yeah, he gets it, doesn't he?
Fucking hell, thought that was a good idea.
I know. I see that.
And he's like, I'm not going to name it. And then he's like, and then he starts talking about Maximus as a character, and you're like, you might as well just fucking named it.
Yeah.
No, you'll never know who he was talking about.
Could have been anything. He's on about Toy Story 2.
Yeah, makes sense.
Just on the wider sort of look at Carrick, do you think there's an element, Steve, of the expectations, because what happened with Solskjær seems to almost have laid a groundwork for some people of like, we can never repeat this mistake. If you want, that's whether it was a mistake or not, whether it should be repeated, whether this is even anything to do with that is up for debate. But I do see a lot of people going, we've learned our lesson from Solskjær, therefore Carrick can't get the job. Do you think there is almost an element of you have to be better than anyone we've ever had in order to put yourself even in the ring for the job, when realistically he's still got the best record of any United manager ever, and some people are saying, no, that's it now. Yeah,
probably, and unfortunately that narrative will carry, that you can't appoint another interim after one interim has actually factually been our best 2 league finishes post Sir Alex, second and third.
Yeah.
Like, where did it go wrong for Ollie? Possibly a little bit on the expectation, and you signed Varane, Ronaldo and Sancho after trying to sign Sancho for about 17 years, and it was an unmitigated success. There was this expectation that you're going to go and start dominating games and win all of the games, and when the wheels kind of fell off a little bit towards October, November, he ends up getting sacked. But I also feel like he didn't believe in himself and his own ability to turn it round. And but what was his backroom staff? It was Kieran McKenna, who's obviously a very good tactician, and it was Michael Carrick, who we don't actually know at the moment. The jury's largely out on him, but it was a pretty good backroom staff. Maybe it didn't have the experience of a Steve Holland, but at the same time, did they recruit because that was the players that the club wanted? Like Varane, Sancho, Ronaldo reeks of Ed Woodward, doesn't it? Doesn't reek of what do you want?
No.
What makes this the most ideal Ole Gunnar Solskjær 11? It very much reeked of, I'll tell you what will shift a fucking right load of shirts and help us get that next sponsor over the line. TeamViewer, talk to me, baby. Like, whereas you would hope with the recruitment we've done so far under Ineos, which has been largely successful.
Yeah, I agree.
If they go into a summer and go, what takes this to the next level? I would have a little bit more faith in that, because you've got Michael Carrick, you've come in doing what he's doing, and I think we fell down largely because of squad depth last night rather than manager ineptitude, I think, by and large. I think there was mistakes he made. I don't think it was a flawless managerial performance, but I think that if you'd have had more on the bench, like money that you've spent, whether it's on, you've got 4 forwards that aren't at the club at the moment. I don't necessarily think any of them deserve to be, but the fact is you spent fucking good money on, well, apart from Rashford, on Rashford, on Sancho, on Anthony, on Højlund. Like you spent a lot of money on those players. They're not here. They're not assets you get to put into play. So you're left with trying to bring Xerxes and Ugarte and fucking Malacia on to score you a goal. You fucked up a long time ago. You don't have them cards to play. So I think that if you go in and you recruit smartly, maybe you can change some of those losses and draws into wins and draws. And maybe that's what you need to do. Like, there is zero guarantee any other manager comes in and does better. Like, if he's literally at the moment sitting on the best win rate of any manager we've had post Sir Alex, maybe he's just the right fit for what we've got at the moment. Maybe he's not. Maybe someone else comes in and does even better. But it's a risk. It is a literal roll of the dice, whether or not they do.
Do you think, Jay, that like, if a team is capable of winning 7 out of 8 games or 6 out of 7 games or whatever, they are therefore capable of winning 30 out of 38 games and pushing for a title? Or do you think there's a lot of teams in England that can win 6 games in a row, or whatever it was, 6 out of 7, and that any team is capable of just having a purple patch and doing what we did?
I think to a certain degree, yeah. I think any team is. I think Villa at one point did it.
Yeah.
And I don't see them winning a title, not in their current games. And I think the issue United have got, which Steve was alluding to there, is the squad depth. We've been on this run. Yeah, I honestly think if Casemiro, for example, got injured, forget it.
Yeah.
Like, that's one player.
We've sort of seen it with Martinez.
Yeah,
almost,
Martinez gets injured. Dorgu, like, you lose two players there that are quite important to you, and then the wheels come off. It's a bit extreme, but you suffer. So I don't know if this team and its current guys could get to over the course of a season could get you 87 points or 90 points, whatever it's probably going to take to win a title. I'm not sure. I think they could get you top 4, but again, the key here is we just need more numbers and more decent numbers. We need a bigger squad, because one of the advantages we had early doors under Carrick was we weren't playing as frequently. We've had these 2 games in 4 days, and you can see the difference. Right? That was our worst performance under him. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's because his players aren't used to playing that many games, and we haven't got the squad to rotate. Like, yes, he could have brought in Ahmad and maybe dropped Cunha or whatever. It's not a massive change, that is it. It's not like he could have brought in 3 or 4 players.
No.
Because he just... Who could he have done that with? Maybe bringing Heaven for Euro, but again, is that making much of it? No. Like, the top teams, like Arsenal and City, when they have these injuries, you know, City, I know they drew last night, but City had Haaland out the other day, and they still managed to get over the line and they won. City have always...
He's doing miracles on a shoestring, though.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, he is.
He's barely had 11 signings in the last 12 months.
And Arteta's the same. Arteta's gone out and he's bought, you know, Eze and Madueke, Zubimendi.
Yeah.
They've brought in players. They've got other players there already. They already had a squad that was challenging because they finished second the last 3 years. Whereas United, we've kind of done what we needed to do just to move up the table. I don't think we've done what we needed to do to challenge for a title. I don't think anyone really thought that in the summer. We brought like 3 top draw attackers in there. Right now, we're going to win a title. No one thought that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know we got excited about the run Carrick was on, but let's be frank. So we need more players. We do, and we need to more than just replace the players that are leaving.
Yeah.
Like, bringing in a midfielder to replace Casemiro isn't going to get us anywhere. If we lost Casemiro and brought in Elliot Anderson, we're going to be in the same situation. We need to bring in, and I know we've spoken about this constantly, a lot of players, basically. We need at least 5 or 6 players if we've got any aspirations of doing more than just finishing 5th next season and not winning out. So that's the sort of the problem that Ineos have got to solve. And they've also got to work out who the manager's going to be. Because you don't want to be in a scenario where we were under previous managers, like even to a degree where with Ole. How much of a say did Ole have in Ronaldo coming back?
The longer time goes by, the less say it seems like he had, doesn't it? Yeah.
How much did of a say did Tenag have in us signing Manuel Ugarte? Or did Jose have in us signing Fred? Because these are managers that didn't want these players. And you've got to work with the manager and go, okay, we're going to bring in players that are going to fit your system that you can, you know, work with, that you'll get the best out of. But you have to know who the manager is to do that. Otherwise, what are we even doing here?
And the other thing as well with those signings, it's people will say, well, you can't just give the manager everything they want. That was an accusation of Ten Hag and a criticism of him. But up until recently, the alternative is you're giving the decision-making power to someone who knows nothing about football. Who doesn't have a footballing background, who hasn't had any success even as a sort of leader in the footballing world, let alone someone that has built championship winning squads. You know, why would Ed Woodward have any better chance of signing a top team than Van Gaal does or than Mourinho does? Back then you would have to say, well, we need to give the manager basically full control here, because otherwise you've got an idiot making the decisions. Yeah. At least now, if whoever the new manager is shares that responsibility with Jason Wilcox, who again hasn't got the most extensive background, but he's
got a Premier League winners medal though.
Exactly, but he's won a Premier League. He's been at Man City for a long time. You look at Omar Brada. He hasn't got the Premier League winners medal, but he has done this job in a different area. Christopher Vivell has got an excellent track record of bringing players in across multiple clubs.
It's better than fucking Matt Judge and Woodward by levels.
Now, if you're sharing 100%. That responsibility, instead of it being a Ugarte, we go, I didn't want him and he's not good enough. It might be, I didn't want him, but fucking hell, he's good. You know, it might be a Dorgu situation.
It's the same with
or a Lomans.
Klopp, how much of his success at Liverpool was down to Mo Salah? Fucking didn't want him.
What did Julian Brand?
Yeah.
Imagine that scenario. Imagine that sliding doors moment.
Exactly.
Because they don't win.
Son of a Sonoma Pongole.
It's like there's just nothing. It's like it's a completely different narrative, a completely different history for him in the last 10, 15 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I get that. I get you can't go down the Ten Hag route of going, right, who's in your agency? Which players are in your agency?
How much are we getting for that?
Yeah, how much? Yeah, all right, get them. Right. You can't do that. No. But you have to work with a manager.
Yeah,
there has to be some sort of cohesion there. And also, because of the people you've spoken about, and listen, I've been quite harsh with Jason Wilcox, but I think you've got to give him credit where it's due. I think he's been all over the keeping Kobe Mainu thing. And I think the transfer...
And JJ Gabriel.
Yeah, and JJ Gabriel. He gets that element of the job at least. And Christopher Vivell, everyone raves about him for a reason, and I think some of the signings we've made, not the Brian Mbeumo's and the Mateus Cunha's, which are a bit, I could have told you that one. But
they got them done, though.
No, they got them done, to be fair. But Senna Lomans and Patrick Dorgu and
didn't get
Aiden
bent
Heaven
over for
in
them
particular.
60 million for Premier League like proven signings that were doing well.
I'm not knocking that. I'm just
is par for the course. That's not cheap.
Yeah,
but you've not been bent over.
No,
and we've been bent over in the past.
Yeah, I mean the Anthony one's the obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah, Anthony one, the Højlund one
in football history.
The Højlund going into a negotiation saying, "Well, this is the only one we want. How much do you want for him?" Yeah. I mean, that's not a negotiation, is it? That's like
Well, Anthony
stupid.
internally decided he was worth 30, and it was I do know a thing or two about how that deal was approached, and not entirely above board is the smell of it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think
agencies were taking massive cuts
on Højlund. But to be fair to John Mercer, it's not like he did Atlanta a massive favour and then they gave him a job.
No, that wouldn't happen. That is a promising sign. That is a good thing, and that is maybe something that helps insulate the next manager, whoever they are, and allows them to focus on getting the best out of the team more than having to come up with a whole transfer policy and implement that as well. Steve started playing the bass guitar over there for a second. That is a massive thing. There's been some reports this week, Steve, about Nagelsmann. There's sort of rumours, hints, just the first nudges that he would be open to the idea of coming to United. He's someone that you've spoken about, I think, for the last 2 or 3 managerial changes as a name you like. What do you like about him? Because a lot of people know the name, know he managed Bayern, know he's at Germany. What actually is he as a manager? What do you like?
I just think he's a very good modern football manager. I think Bayern Munich's a little bit political, I think, at times. If you're not perfect, you're gone.
Yeah.
Like they're not quite Real Madrid in that sense, but like it's a German version of Real Madrid, if you like. There's a lot of politics goes into it, and if your face don't fit, it don't fucking matter what you're doing. I think what he achieved at Hoffenheim is just fascinating. He did it as the youngest coach in top flight history, I think, in Germany as well, by doing it.
What did he do, for people who don't know?
Basically took a Sunday League team into like European contention.
Not bad. Not bloody
more
bad.
Or less.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's fascinating, and obviously got the jobs he's got on the back of it. Leipzig, Bayern, German national team manager. The problem is, it's a depth of knowledge. It's not a breadth of knowledge. And he got his ass handed to him at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Was it 5-0?
Dresses like an absolute fucking helmet. So
yeah,
that's a worry.
That is a worry.
That scooter is charming as fuck. Day one. 3 week where you've just been turned over by Brighton 3-0 and you're dressing like Coco the fucking clown arriving at Carrington on a scooter. Ooh, it's going to get a bit warm in the next press conference, isn't it?
Beep, beep. Oh, Nagelsmann's in earlier.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
There is, and that's the thing, innit?
Who's this Casey Neistat looking fuckwit?
Narratives get built in the days before your first press conference, let alone afterwards. Like you can already, we always talk about this, but the last sort of 5 managers, you can already tell what was going to get them sacked, or the prevailing narrative when they are sacked, before they've even played a game.
David Moyes, remember David Moyes? Are you old enough to remember David Moyes' first press conference?
I was there. I was at it. And what worried me about that was
it looked like a rabbit in a fucking headlights?
Yes. And it was like, Fergie then says, he wants to come and see me. I was worried about the T-shirt I was wearing. And then I met him and he says, I'm going to be the next United manager. Couldn't believe it. I'm like, what?
Didn't even accept the job. Just got told.
Yeah. And then it's like,
pack your shit, you're not Everton manager anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, sound.
Do Everton know about this?
Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
Stop asking questions.
They'll be fine.
Get in the van.
Go do what you're told.
Yeah.
They're getting Carlo Ancelotti in a few years.
He lost me when he brought Bill Shankly in his press conference. I was like, do you know what club you're at, you absolute weapon?
He was literally like that. Fucking hell.
Jesus. Why is there more than 3 of you in this press conference?
Why is he writing down what I'm saying?
Yeah, we don't normally do that. We just go for a pint afterwards and just hash it out there. Yeah, that is pretty mad. I mean, on the Nagelsmann front, he did all right at Bayern as well. People sort of slag him off because he got sacked, but I think he won the league and then got sacked quite harshly when they were, I think, in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, they were like 1 point off the top.
It's Bayern.
It was, yeah, exactly.
Bayern's crazy. Even with like the players that sometimes don't make the team and what's going on there, it's like very political, isn't it? It's not like they're the worst players for the team, so that's why they've been dropped. Sometimes it's like they're actually playing well, but then for whatever reason they're not allowed to play for a bit.
They had as well, like they were at that period where Lewandowski had gone and they'd really not replaced him yet. Like their starting striker was Choupo-Moting, their backup striker was Joshua Zirkzee, and they had like an ageing Thomas Muller still getting numbers, but nowhere near the player he was. Like, and he was still winning the league with, it's like they were coming to the end of a great team.
Is it not a concern then that that doesn't tell us a lot?
I guess.
And then if that doesn't tell us a lot, what is?
But what does tell you a lot?
And now I
suppose the one
because I
thing,
guess Jose Mourinho was an unmitigated success based on his track record.
But at least with Jose, he won some things, and you could kind of see that at the very least he was going to do that, which he did. But at least with Van Gaal, you could see that he was going to at least make us competitive to a certain degree, and he won an FA Cup and got us Champions League football.
And a Carabao.
And sorry,
and a Carabao.
Who?
Tenor.
I said Van Gaal.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Tenor. Sorry,
I meant to say
Apologies.
Van Gaal. Forgive me for
no,
Tenor.
I think you probably did.
And then again with Tenor, like I kind of get it with Nagelsmann. I feel like it is very unknown how this could go down, and I don't think what he does at Germany is going to help us know anything.
No, unless they dominate and crush the World Cup.
If he does really well in the World Cup,
yeah,
I don't necessarily that means he's going to smash it. United. It doesn't mean he's not, but it feels like similar to when you buy a player based off an international tournament. It could be Karol Poborski or it could be.
International football might as well be a different fucking sport because it is so different.
It's the issue you've got in it. So you've got to go off his club record.
And for a nation like Germany, I was going to say a club like Germany, and then I went, can't say club, and then I wanted to say club, and then I corrected myself, I said nation. But anyway, for a club like Germany, you're one game from perfect or shite. Like, there's not really, like, it's not a league because it's a cup. Like, it's so fucking random, and it's a cup every 4 years. Like, it's so bizarre to be like, he was a successful international manager. Was he?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck does that mean?
No.
Like, you can just be so unlucky. A referee can do you. And guess what? That you didn't win fuck all for 8 years.
It's not even two-legged ties either. It's one leg once every 4 years, and if your best player hurts their ankle on the way in, you cannot win. Or, like Rooney.
Or you play Argentina and you get referees, do you?
Ferenc Puskas, aren't you?
I'm thinking of Puskas.
I thought you were.
In the 50s.
In the 50s. I remember it well.
I do. Just on to next season, and I don't forget what's coming up this season, but obviously we can't help but think about next season because we know there is so much about to change. Whether it's giving Carrick the permanent job, getting a new manager, all the new signings that we expect to come. This season was a bit of a transitional season that's ended up being, let's be honest, a lot better than we thought it would. I don't think anyone thought we'd be third after 30 games. Or 29 games. That is the
most Manchester United way to get into third as well.
Yeah.
Let's just be completely underwhelming for ages, but not terrible.
Yeah.
And then have a mad purple patch that files us into third. Okay.
Amazing. In terms of players, a couple new names this week: Tonali and Guimarães. Guimarães was the last few days, wasn't it?
I used to say, when we play a team in Europe, you would quite often see United linked to one of their random fucking players. What's different about this? That we've just played Newcastle and we've been linked to two of Newcastle's players?
Possibly nothing. It might just be a case of getting United's name in there, getting more eyes on the stories and all that.
Newcastle do not need money. Why are we being linked with Newcastle players? I just don't get it. You're certainly not going to be linked with both of them. What a lot of ball! I just can't buy that. I've seen the links. I don't respect the links.
Fair enough.
I think the Tonali one for me has got a bit more legs. People saying that we're keeping an eye on him. He's one of the options.
Do you know? There's been fuck all said about his gambling ban, but I guarantee TalkSport do a week on it if he signs for United.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the headline. Won't be Sandro Tonali. It'll be previously banned footballer.
Yeah.
Sandro Tonali signs for United.
What's the match fixing scandal cheat?
Yeah. Signs for United.
Signs for.
Yeah,
for
inflated transfer fee.
All bets are off.
Yeah,
that'll just be
smash
transfer policy for gambling cheat. It's literally going to be something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we spend 70 million quid on him. Are they the types of player you like?
I like Bruno Guimarães, and Tonali I just don't think. I mean, Paul Scholes obviously loves him, so I'd fucking rule him out on that alone, I reckon.
Yeah, do you think Tonali looked at his thing and went, that's my move to United off?
Although he did delete the post, so maybe it was because of the Tonali stuff rather than the Carrick stuff. Who knows? Maybe he thinks actually he's not that good anymore, and then he deleted it. We can have him again now.
I think Bruno Guimarães is a good player.
Yeah,
I think he's mint. I just don't know if we get him. I think Tonali, I could see that happening. I think Guimarães is like their guy, innit? He's the one that they're all like.
Is he the captain?
I think he is, and he's like the one that sort of kept them going. I know people can go, well, Alexander Isak was their guy, but he basically refused to train and spat his dummy out. And then,
usually does it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then they were like, well, if you're having him, you've got to put up with ridiculous money, and you won't be doing that after.
But that's the problem, is because they're owned by fucking Saudi, you can't bully them financially. And United can't bully anyone financially at the moment. We've got to get a borrower to put fucking lights on.
There was an element of, I know they weren't bullied by Liverpool, they were bullied by Isak, but that deal was sort of forced to happen, wasn't it?
But look how much it still cost them.
Yeah,
didn't get a decent deal for it,
40 million quid or whatever.
Yeah.
That's mad, isn't it? That's so much money. The other thing with Bruno Guimarães is he's 28, which I know
puts
that's
him out
not...
of, how old's Tonali? He's a bit younger, isn't he?
Tonali's 26, I think, yeah.
So even he puts him outside of Ineos' so-called fucking...
Oh no, he's 25, Tonali. He'll be 26 by the summer, so we would be signing a 26-year-old.
Don't you know how fractions work?
What's our thing? Is it 25 or 24?
You say that though, but Mazraoui was an exception, wasn't he?
Yeah, and also I think
Mbeumo, yeah, sorry.
He turned 26 this season, which is essentially the same as Tonali. So I think that might be possible, but
the value is not going to be there. There was value in Mazraoui because they wanted shot of him because of his views on Palestine.
And also, he was 13 million quid.
That's which is
so
that's the ultimate
no-brainer.
Like a mint player who can play in multiple positions for about the same price.
I'm annoyed that
Tyrone
we're even
Malacia.
linked with selling him. Like, what the fuck would you want to do that
no,
for?
No, God no. That just makes zero sense.
Unless there's someone who you think is good enough to come in and be a potentially world-class talent right now. But as far as value for money goes, it doesn't really get any better than Mazraoui, does it? Like you said, can play multiple positions, is a 6 or 7 out of 10 every week, often an 8, sometimes a 9.
Top decision making.
Yeah.
Great first touch. What's the issue?
No.
Yeah, 100%.
A massive win.
Casemiro's become a bit of a mad situation, hasn't it? Because we're people like Macaulay yesterday lamenting the fact that he's leaving in the summer, and he's not alone in that. I know if we sort of had our sensible heads on, it makes sense that he's going. Giving him another contract would feel like an old, giving Matic and Eric Bailly contracts because they've had 10 good games. But he has been one of our most influential players this season. When he comes off and when he doesn't play, we just lose a lot more games.
Yeah.
Is there someone about Steve? Like, we've gone from like, should he even be playing because the football's left him, to is there actually anyone that when he's in this form is any better than him? Like, how is Elliot Anderson better than current Casemiro?
I think it's close. I think Elliot Anderson's very impactful. They're different. That's the problem. Is you can't find a player that does the things that Casemiro does in terms of the effectiveness at set plays. You can find players that'll match his dual numbers. You can find players that'll exceed his running numbers. You can find players that are better progressors of the ball than him, that do more volume in terms of passes. But you can't find anyone that does the things that he does really well, like in one player. You're going to have to make what he does in 2 players, or you're going to have to favour. You might go, well, I'm going to go with someone that does more duels, more running. Okay, cool. But you're not going to find someone who does more duels, more running, and gets you the sort of set play threat and protection in our box. Doesn't exist. So I think you need someone that's going to progress the ball. That's a Wharton. But then you need someone that's going to have a little bit of the all action that you get out of Casemiro as well. Well, that's Elliot Anderson. So I don't know who, like, they're going to have to, like, and maybe it'll be better. Maybe we go and we rejig it a little bit and it's better, but yeah, I don't know who the right one. I mean, my personal favourite is Elliot Anderson.
Yeah.
But that might be wrong. You might want more control. I just don't know. I think football's going a little bit away from control and a little bit more into just fucking carnage.
Which is quite fun.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean, though?
To a certain degree, it's a bit, yeah.
He's gone from being like, any old midfielder could be better. Like, Toby Collier was putting in better performances than him at one stage.
Got subbed for him at half-time, didn't he, against the Scousers?
Yeah, because he worked hard, because he tracked his man, he did all the things that it seemed like Casemiro was, incapable of doing. Now Casemiro is
might be
playing...
a mental thing with him.
Maybe it is, yeah. And maybe, like you said, the second game in 3 days, twice in a row, he's not been quite so good, or he's certainly faded in that game. Are you worried that the person we bring in, whether it's Baleba, whether it's Tonali, is actually a step down on the Casemiro we're seeing right now?
Might be. It might be slightly, but you might get away with that.
Okay.
If Casemiro's putting up, say, 7 or 8 out of 10, and the new guy comes in and he's more 6 or 7 out of 10, but the whole team is better, then you can get away with that. I don't
Especially
think,
if he could do Wednesday, Saturday.
Yeah, and if he's playing twice a week, that's a really good point. So it's not like the end of the world. It's like when you talk about replacing Bruno. I know it's a bit more extreme. Someone could come in, not be as good as Bruno, but still be mint because Bruno's so good. So there is that worry. My concern is a similar one to Steve's got is these players are all slightly different, and it's how does this midfield look? What's it work like? I think the obvious answer is to try and get as many as you can that are mint.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's like stupid, but like if you just get Elliot Anderson in, that's not solving everything because then when he's not fit, you're still short, or we haven't got enough players anyway. So you need to bring in at least 3 midfielders, really, or at least 2, sorry. 3's ambitious, but at least 2 midfielders because you're losing Casemiro. We don't know what's going on with Guy. I know he was all right last night, but has he got a future at United? Probably not. Toby Collier doesn't look like he's kicking on. Seka Kone's barely played for us at Lausanne, and when he has, he's looked underwhelming. So we've not got another Jim Thwaites. He's looked great, but there's questions, is he physically ready? You need 2 midfielders. Now, whether that is you go all out and you go, right, it is 70 million to Brighton and it is 100 million to Nottingham Forest, if you can even do that.
Well, that's even like Wharton, Baleba, Anderson. 3 different midfielders entirely.
Yeah, that's it. They're not all the same, are they? They're not all the similar type of player. They're all different.
And then you throw Cobby in the mix as well, who's the one you know is probably going to be around for a good few years, because Bruno's not. Whether he goes this summer or next summer or the summer after, the train's in the station.
Yeah.
You know, it's a matter of time. It's not a case of we can build a squad around him for the next 5 or 10 years. If you can even do that anyway. You know, managers don't get time to say, that'll be my midfield in 4 years. Well, your midfield, you'll have 3 fucking managers by then, dickwad, right? It's not going to happen. So like, I don't think you get the chance to really build for the future. And that, I think, is sad.
And I think that's a lovely place to end it, Steve.
Sad state of affairs.
It is indeed. Thank you very much for joining us. Get your thoughts in the comments below. The hysteria, the reaction, as there always is with Manchester United. We should sort of expect it, but it still catches me off guard a little bit when all of a sudden it's like, that's why Carrick can't be our manager. You think, what, 1 loss in 11 games or whatever it's been since he's been the caretaker.
If anything, it's why he can.
Yeah. So far, all he's proven is that he should be in the ring. Whether he gets it or not, obviously we'll have to wait and see. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jake.
Talk about Michael Carrick's ring.
See you in a bit.